Thank you, everyone. So as Shiraz says, I'm here today to talk to you about scalability and sustainability in your business. Now, I must confess, calling it sustainability was a bad idea because I haven't eaten since midday and all I can think about is having some food when I talk about sustainability. So I'm going to try and keep this quite quick. In terms of just sort of getting a gauge for the audience, I mean, could you just put your hands up in terms of like who you are? So who here is a business owner? Who here is a freelancer? Yes? Who here is just professionals? They work in some kind of profession. And who here would consider themselves other? Other, perfect. You own a business, Rachel, come on. So just before we get into this, who am I? So as you see, my name's Philip Kent. It doesn't say it on there, but I hope you know that by now. I've spent the past couple of years working primarily with boards of big, large public companies, helping them solve big strategic problems, primarily to do with the board of directors and how they go about doing things like setting strategy, managing the management, should I say, but also gaining assurances from the work they do. But I also do a lot of volunteer stuff. So I run the junior chamber in Bradford. I do a lot of stuff with those guys. I sit on the leadership council of the Chamber of Commerce, and I also sit on the board of a really great local social enterprise. Things I learned about myself while writing this proposal. I like alliteration a little bit too much, so I apologize all of you in advance for that. And also, when I get excited, I get a bit animated. So if I do this every now and then, it's not like I've just had a sudden jolt. It's actually because I'm getting keen on what I'm talking about. So the topic of tonight's discussion is more about scalability. So Shiraz mentioned sustainability, but the reason I called it how to scale in a sustainable manner is because the two are inextricably linked. They're linked in the sense that in order to take your business to the next level, you need a sustainable business on which to grow from. And part of that is about setting the foundations in your business to make sure that things are right for growth. And I talk about here, I'm going to call them the 4 S's of business growth. This is my first alliteration point. And the 4 stages are the different stages where you are as a business. So if you're in survival mode, usually quite early on, or you've hit a bit of a snag in the market and you're trying to figure out, actually, do I have the right business model to scale? Am I in a position where I can confidently say that we are going to be around in the next couple of months and we can actually be in a position to grow? Second buy is stability, which is the opposite of that, which is where actually we're quite comfortable with where we are now. We're hitting our monthly forecasting targets. We're in a good position to grow for the future, but we're comfortable with that. You know, we're comfortable with where we are. Sustainable is the part where you're comfortable, but you're very comfortable. You can forecast 3 months ahead. This is the part that investors love. You know, if you're sustainable and you've got a forecast that says, this is where we're going to be in 3 months' time, and you're hitting those targets each time, investors are like, wow, you guys are our dream clients. And then scalable is the last one. So if you are sustainable and you are stable, how do you then go about making your business into something which can grow? So how do you take it from where it is now to where you want it to be? And I call those the 5 P's of scalability. Alliteration point number 2. And I'll come to those in a second. And part of what I'm trying to do this evening is to share some of my insights from working with large boards, some of the non-profit leadership stuff where I've applied some of these principles and had great results, and also hopefully giving you something that you can apply to your own businesses in order to achieve that scalable goal. So the 5 P's, I'm going to start with that. So sorry if I keep having to turn around, by the way. So the 5 P's are product, process, pipeline, performance, and people. Everything always says it's all about people, so I'm going to touch on that point last. I'm going to focus on the key 4 points. And there's a bonus P as well, which is the plan. Obviously, there's a plan that wraps around all this stuff as well. I'm not saying that you should just dive in head first and not have a think about how you're going to do it, but the bonus P is the plan. So number 1, product. Business 101, the role of business is to provide something to someone. There are 2 strands to businesses, operational and commercial. And part of this scalability plan is having a plan that addresses both of those individual things. So if we're in a position where, let's say, we're delivering a service, who here delivers a service as part of their living? Right. So services are notoriously difficult to scale with. Why? Because they're very heavily dependent on people, training, everything's bespoke, everything's tailored, everything has to be custom crafted for each individual business. And the point is that that's hard to scale. You know, you've got big consultancy firms like KPMG and PwC, and that's their business. They go into big clients, they sell them huge £1 million deals, and they make everyone else look like they can't do it. But actually, it is a difficult thing to do, and part of this is me explaining how I think you can take a service and apply it into something that can be scalable. And I call that productization. I call it that because when I read it in this book here, which is Built to Sell by John Warlow, he didn't use the term exactly, but I thought it was a good term. So the productization of a service is when I take something which I'm delivering to my clients, and basically I need to turn it into something which is product-like. So it's not a product, it's not a physical thing that I'm selling, but it's something that I can sell. I can give it a name, I can give it a brand, and I can sell it to my customers. So the example that he uses in there is logo design, as you can see there. So the book talks about this guy who is running a marketing agency, and it's a marketing agency. In other words, we do everything. We do all aspects of marketing, except we've got some pretty major problems. 40% of our revenue comes from one customer. That one customer is a huge firm that pushes us about a lot. We do just about everything for this one customer, which isn't sustainable because we always have to bring in freelance skills and everything like that. So the point of the book is to say, actually focus on what you're good at. You have services, turn those into products by clearly defining the process by which you go about doing that service. So he talks about logo design services, and you can apply this to all your own business. It's about thinking about the service you provide and giving it a step-by-step process that you can then give a name. So in here, it's the 5-step logo design process. And the benefit of that is really simple. If you've got a product, it's easy to deliver, it's easy to resell, and also, if you are delivering a product, there is more flexibility around how you invoice. So usually, you're delivering a service, they want to wait till the end, till they give you all the money. You might be able to give a little bit up front, but they'll be a bit like, well, we don't know if you're any good yet. But this allows you to say, actually, you know exactly what you're going to get. We know exactly what we're going to do for you. Therefore, we're going to put a retainer in place, and we're going to bill the half at the end of it. Does that all make sense? So that's about product, and it's mainly about thinking about your services in a way that translates to a product. So that's P number 1. P number 2 is process. Has everyone heard of this book before, The Lean Startup by Eric Ries? I put that up there because it's a valuable book about how you can take a very methodical approach to how you define your business. So before we talked about how you turn a service into a product, this is about how you turn the rest of your business into an equally as defined service and process. So let me give you an example. We talked about operational and commercial aspects of a business. If you can define a process, there's far too much when you're running a business where you might bring on board staff and all of a sudden it's like, right, I'll just teach them how to do this and they'll be fine because I've got it all sorted out. I'll just teach them how to do this. But actually, if you do that, you will find so much variations and so many issues in quality. Who here has seen The Founder recently? Ray Kroc, McDonald's. Great story about Ray Kroc and McDonald's. By all means, go and watch the film. I'm not paid for that reference, by the way. It's a wholehearted referral. But he talks about the fact that the guys, the McDonald's brothers, they tried to franchise early on, but they failed because they couldn't retain quality. They were effectively giving management of their name over to people who they don't know, who couldn't handle quality. And part of this is about defining the process. So you've got your product. If you then turn internally, in order to scale, you have to be clear about your processes. And part of that, I say, is something around identifying those 2 key themes, the operational and the commercial, and then defining your processes that fall under each of those things. Why? Because it's just easier to explain to people. It's easier to explain, yeah, we've got a process. You want to know how sales is done? Bang, 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 bang. You want to know how marketing's done? And it's just easier to do. It's easier to be able to convince people, not only your employees, but also your clients as well. It presents an image of something that's more professional and also something that's more scalable. And I wanted to touch on that point there. Why do people hate process? It's an interesting point. The amount of times that I've suggested with a client, oh, well, you should really just have a think about putting a process in and bringing in another consultant. And they're just like, oh, but people hate bureaucracy. Like, people don't do anything with that. When I say process, I don't mean bureaucracy. I mean something that is clear that you can communicate to people that says, actually, this is how we do a certain thing, and you will do the same as well. Does that all make sense? The next one is about pipeline. The book there I put up is by a guy called Mark Roberge. He's the guy who took HubSpot, the CRM system, from $0 to about $100 million. And in his book there, The Sales Acceleration Formula, he basically talks you through how he did that and some of the things that you can apply to your own business. But I'm more interested in, again, on the similar topic of process, defining your pipeline. So everyone knows about the sales funnel. Everyone knows that we come to places like marketing events, we do some social media stuff, we do some pay-per-click advertising, and we We get all the leads in, we call them, we meet them, everyone knows how that funnel works. But how many of you actually track it? How many of you track it in like a CRM system where we know all the people we've spoken to and we have just a clear picture of where each of those customers are on the journey? And one of the things that this guy talks about a lot is that that is central to HubSpot's growth. It's like, actually, we know everyone who's interacted with our business. They don't have a name until we sell them something, but we know where they've interacted with them and what the next step of that process is. And part of running a business and growing a business at Scalable is understanding that process and understanding how you can take the customer down the next scale towards actually finally making the sale. And I mentioned here about Gary King because it's an article that I like. If you are in the services industry, an interesting thing is to understand the difference between suspects and prospects. Gary uses the analogy that is, well, I'm like the fire brigade. People call me when their businesses are on fire. Why? Because that's when I'm most needed. That's when they're willing to talk about deadlines, about money, about their actual need, not what they sort of want to do in 6 months' time. You know, they're thinking about it, but they don't really know. Oh, could you just write us up a proposal, please? Yeah, that'd be great. We're having to think about it, though. So he talks about that I'm the fire brigade. People call me up when their house is on fire and they need someone to put out the fire. And that's my niche. I don't go around saying, oh yeah, let's have a talk about your progression over the next 6 months. No, he wants to talk to people when their businesses are on fire. And I mentioned that point because when you've got your customers in that sort of a position, it's a great indicator of actually when they're looking to buy from you. If they're being honest and they are talking about deadlines and they are talking about how much money they've got, that's actually when they're most primed position to buy from you. Okay? The next one's about performance. So part of this is about understanding the key metrics that your business needs to survive. I put a picture of a car. A car is a big computer. A car is a big computer that takes on board loads of information from your tires, your engine, your lights, your dashboard. And what it basically does is it quantifies that information for you and it flags up things that it thinks you should probably be aware of. So it'll say, you're pretty low on fuel, you might want to go and refuel. Might say things like, your engine temperature's a bit high, because obviously you're not in the engine, you don't know the temperature's too high, the car tells you the engine is too high. And the reason I bring up that example is you need to find the metrics for your business that actually give you some indicator about when things are going wrong. I did have an example of a board performance report that I was going to show you there, but I've left it in my bag. The main thing about that was that an NHS organisation, £350 million turnover, 7,500 employees, they've got down to condensing their organisation to about 30 pages of metrics. 30 pages of metrics. They have all of their metrics, they have their month-by-month performance, they have their trend, and they have all of the indicators that says, actually, this is something that's bad. And the point about this is in order to scale, you have to know what those indicators are and know when they are being lit up so that you're not blindsided by something. And it's not just cash flow, it's everything from your conversion ratio to your lifetime retention, it's everything. And the idea is that you need to know which performance indicators are best for your business. People, I came on to people last, because every single article that you read says, hire good people. And that really annoys me every time I read it because doesn't everyone try and hire good people? Who hires bad people? That's sort of where I know. And hopefully I was on the right slide. But I just wanted to talk about it because obviously people are what grow your business. They're what makes it scale. I do a lot of work with boards, and part of a board is having two groups of people, one who is distant from the organizational and the management side of things, and then the management. And the duty of the other side is to be able to say, how do I know that this organization is performing well? Like, how do I actually know? What am I looking for? Am I looking at the metrics? Am I looking at the processes? Am I looking at the overall pipeline value? What do I actually look for to know when a business is working? And that's your job. In a scalable business, that's your job. You need to know what you are looking for in your business. You need to know your warning signs. You need to know what the process looks like. You need to know your product through and through. Because obviously you can hire people to manage the rest of it as you grow. The point is that I talk about this Tina Fey stuff here, not attributed to Steve Jobs as it usually is, but Tina Fey, as most cases, being a good boss is hiring the right talent and then just getting out of the way and letting them do their thing. And I put this point here because it's quite interesting. Don't hire people that you like. We talk about hiring good people. Don't hire people that you like. The Boston Philharmonic was interested as to why they had so many men on their orchestra. And they asked that as a general question, like, well, we don't know why we have so many men on our orchestra. We hire the right people. but why do we have so many guys? Not realizing that the board was full of men, and the people who made the hiring decisions was full of men. So what they did is they put a big velvet curtain between performer and interviewee, and then the women and the minorities all started to come onto their business, because actually it wasn't about them being particularly biased or anything. It was just about them not knowing that they were being biased. That's because they were hiring people that they liked. And it's an interesting point there. Hire people you don't like. And the final point is about peer support. Who here has peer support? Coaches, mentors, advisors, anything like that? Yeah? A few of you? Vital point here. I use the point of the board example a lot, because watching boards of big companies work is fascinating, because they have a huge job to do, which is running £1 billion organization and not being there to manage it. And the good thing about peer support is that it's a fresh pair of eyes. It's a fresh pair of eyes on your business. They will bring experience, they will bring advice, they will bring mentoring, but the important part is that it's an experienced, fresh pair of eyes to help you grow your business. And I put that up there. That's something which I've been toying around with a while, which is the principles of a startup board. So similar to the alternative board, similar to Vistage, actually have a startup board of people who are in the same position as you, who are growing a business, but are actually, you're not in it for coaching and mentoring, you're on it having a fresh pair of eyes in your business. So anyway, that's what I've covered. I've talked about the 5 S's, the 4 S's, I talked about the 4 P's. I didn't mention the 3 C's of people, but I'll send you out the slide. You can marvel at the alliteration next time. And the reason for this talk was about giving you the foundations to build a scalable business. So we talked about the product, we talked about the pipeline, we talked about the processes and the performance and the people. Those are the foundations. And getting those foundations right first time will mean that you don't build a house of cards. I gave some links to further information there, just because I feel like it's the right thing to do, just to point people in further direction. This company called CB Insights, they do startup postmortems. So they look at businesses and they assess why they've failed, and then they condense them out into a report, which looks like that. You can't see it here, but that shows you all the reasons why people have said their businesses have failed, something which people probably should have a look at. I've also put a 76-page link to Barclay's report, which says how you can scale, but don't do that, just watch the video summary. It's at the bottom of the page. You have to scroll down to find it, but it's there. And then the other thing is these items here around reasons why startups fail, and also YouTube book summaries. But anyway, that's been me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. I'm going to be around for the rest of the evening, so if you've got any questions, hit me up. Cheers.